Welcome to CrikeyCast, where we rewatch the episodes of the Crocodile Hunter and break it down for you. And hopefully you love Steve Irwin as much as we do.
Welcome back to CrikeyCast.
The only podcast, I think, I don't know, I haven't actually done the research, where we talk about Steve Irwin and Terry Irwin and their lives. And you know, if you've been listening, if you haven't, what the fuck? This week's episode is called Suburban Killers. And let me just say, I expected something different. It does feel like maybe this episode came early on and they were trying out a style, and I don't know if it worked.
It was, yeah. I mean, this is still in their, like, Queensland, like, reptile conservatory, whatever they called it, before they got the Australia Zoo, or renamed it to the Australia Zoo. And it was like a long infomercial for things in Australia.
Yeah, the tone was a little slow. That's probably why we're also in that tone a little bit. It was not a very hopping episode. However, we learned a lot, you know, and we still love Steve. But this is an interesting one. Very much so.
People always talk about, you know, Steve Irwin, but it's been Steve and Terry in the jump.
I know, but just last week I did a little background on Terry, remember? And I said I was going to read her memoir, which I'm getting to, you guys. Stop pushing me. I'm just kidding. Do we do a lot of Terry talk?
I know, but when we say we love Steve, it's like, it's Steve and Terry.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
She's culpable in this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
I just have a stronger relationship with Steve.
Yeah, I'm more of a Terry guy, I guess.
So weird thing to say to your partner?
What? No, I think Terry needs her flowers, and I'm here to give her flowers.
Just because I didn't say her name one time right after Steve's doesn't mean that I don't incorporate her just as much in every podcast.
I gotta keep you in check.
Oh my, okay. Great. Love being kept in check. End of quotes.
We support women on this podcast.
Oh my god. Every time you say that, it makes it sound like I don't support women.
I'm just saying, you just said Steve.
Okay. Moving on. Before I punch my podcast host in the face.
It's rude.
Is it rude?
Yeah.
It's not that bad.
Why don't you get into the episode?
Why don't you say Terry 6 more times?
Terry.
Perfect. Suburban Killers. Okay, so this episode starts in Sydney. The intro is a little bit different. The song is Killer. It's like very 80s cop pop.
I gotta say, in these
like
early
a cop
episodes...
show pop song. That's what cop pop is, in case you needed to know. Cop pop. Cop pop.
That is very cop pop.
Thank you.
The intros always have been different in all these episodes, and this one's by far the best for
it's so sick.
The like least intense show of all of them.
I know, that's what I think. It was a definite bait and switch.
Yeah.
Because it was like, shots of sharks and snakes and stuff. And then the episode was just like, here we are in Sydney, Australia. Yeah. It was so boring.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, Steve. Sorry, Terry, but...
Yeah.
Sorry, Steve. Sorry, Terry.
There you go.
Not our favorite app. Okay. So we get all these shots of animals. We get all these shots of snakes. And they basically say, like, today we're going to talk to you about keeping yourself safe. So it feels, again, very infomercial.
Yeah. And they start in the Sydney harbor, too. Like, doing like a big walk on. They're in the city. We rarely see them in the city, except for the episode that we watched where they were in LA. But yeah, it's basically going to be like a guide to everything that can kill you in Australia, it seems like.
Or a few things. I don't know about everything. There's a lot of dangerous animals in Australia. So we start out with a python. It's like crawling up this big trailer, and then all of a sudden there's, you know, one in a store, and Terry's picking it up out of this like rice that's on a shelf, and then there's one in a pool, and it's climbing in and out. And basically, without saying it, they're saying like, all right, we're now going to talk about pythons and how you deal with them and what makes them dangerous.
And how to get rid of them. Basically, they didn't give the best tips. They showed one tiny one in a pool, and they picked it up with a pool net thing.
Use your pool scoop very gently. Once he's scooped up, just get him out into the yard, get him away from your house.
With like a pool cleaner.
Yeah. But outside of that, I don't know if they showed, like, the one in the store Terry picked up with her hands, and she was like, don't ever try to identify or pick it or handle a snake on your own. I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
They're basically like, if you don't know what it is, leave it. If you can, sweep it away, call somebody to get rid of it, and also, like, don't aggravate snakes. And then they kept talking about how pythons specifically have, like, crazy muscle movement capabilities, so they can crawl themselves out of a pool. They can squeeze themselves under almost anything, no matter how small it is. So that was all, moderately interesting.
Yeah. I thought it was cool. I was like digging it, dude. This is like my sort of information for when I run into a python.
Yes, here in California. Then we move on to the brown snake, and they say, like, brown snakes can't climb. You're always told that they're going to be on the ground. And Steve was like, well, there's always an exception to the rule, which I hate hearing because I feel like the one thing you can do is go like, oh, I remember that one weird fact about a snake, so if I run into it, I should do this. And then Steve goes like, there's always an exception to a rule. And I'm like, great. So just know that. And then, just take that into account.
Yeah, for sure.
So they say, again, with brown snakes, sweep them gently across the floor, and then we get this nice little moment with a fake or artificial arm.
Yeah, so they got a brown snake in a bedroom, and he's saying, like, they basically won't bite unless you really, really upset them.
Now here's something that really will provoke him. Pinned to the floor by an artificial arm.
And so to really illustrate it, they have a fake arm with what I have to say is a dope watch on it.
It's a pretty sick watch. It might be a Rolex.
I don't know why. Maybe they shot it with the fake arm and they were like, this looks weird. Let's put a watch on it.
I mean, it does add to the arm.
Did it come with that? There's no way it came
I'm
with that.
pretty sure somebody, like one of the film crew, took off their watch and put it on that arm so it just looked more human. Oh, yeah. And it works.
It did look pretty human.
Yeah, it worked.
That's the thing. If you put a watch on a fake arm, it's like 50% more real looking.
Exactly. And so this hand is slapping around, holding this snake down and aggravating it, all this stuff, and eventually, snake bites.
Yeah.
We see it go into the arm, it leaves some venom behind, and that dead arm is even deader.
Oh, so dead, because the brown snake is one of the top 3 deadliest snakes.
Very deadly.
In the world.
Yikes!
Yep.
Then we quickly move. Are you good on that? Did you have something to add?
I'm good on that. I mean, there's one recurring theme that's like snakes won't bother you unless you really bother them.
Mess with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that starts here because they really were slapping it with the fake hand, and he was
and pinning it, like holding it down.
Yeah, and it didn't bite for a minute.
Yeah, and then a vendor came in and was like, hey, can I sell you a new watch? And the arm got distracted and left.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though it got bit by venom, it's running out of time. We move on to the red-bellied black snake, which we've talked about in other episodes. A very unaggressive snake, even though it is poisonous. Great. You got anything to add to that?
I don't think so. I don't even remember that. That one had a funny face. Like, I don't look at snake faces that much, but they showed this snake, and Steve was getting close to it, and it was just, like, looking at him straight up.
It looks very serious.
It does look... It had a serious face.
Yeah.
Like, all business, but...
Well, its name is red-bellied black. It sounds like a serious snake.
Yeah. But, like, I think when I see a snake on TV or video, I'm always looking at the body. I really started looking at the faces in this episode.
All right, key takeaway. Next time you see a snake, check out its face. We have got to stop discriminating snakes by their bodies only.
No, check
what if
the
they
face
have
out.
Cute little faces?
Yeah, they kind of do.
And make sure you get really, really close to them, pin them down, and see if they strike you in the face.
No, it's not. It's not the lesson.
After that, we get a copperhead, which they say can look like a brown snake, and they sort of live low to the ground. They don't live low to the ground. All snakes do. Yeah. Dumb. Well, actually, anyway, moving on. They strike low to the ground, so they're not going to jump up at you. They're going to go for your feet and things like that. It does go for Steve's boot. Steve gets out of there. They're very venomous. Okay.
Yeah.
You got anything?
No. I don't. He did say that the copperheads don't have...
Keep saying no and then having stuff.
No, I don't. But it was interesting now. He said copperheads don't have a copper-colored head, which is... There's no explanation of why they're called copperheads, and I think maybe nobody knows.
Nobody knows except for that snake. And did it have a cute face?
It had a damn cute face.
There you go. Perfect.
It was like it kind of looked like a childhood star in a TV show drama.
Oh, it was like a young Jason Bateman.
Sure, yeah.
That's the only childhood
No,
star.
but it did look like a young Jason Bateman, actually.
Oh, great. Okay. So this is going to keep happening. Amazing. Then we get to see the Death Adler, which is an amazing name.
I think it's Death Adder.
Look closely under the steps and you'll see a death adder.
Oh.
Adder is like a type of snake, I think.
Moving on to the Death Adler.
No, I think it's Death Adder.
The Death Adder is a short, stubby leaf snake that looks like, you called it leaves, is very timid, but it has this crazy lure on the end of its tail.
Correct.
That it not like a rattler, but it baits things in with and then strikes.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
That one is cool. I don't remember its face, but it's kind of red looking, which is
didn't
cool.
get a
It's
good
like
face.
mosaic-y red.
They were kind of shy. They were like little shy boy snakes. And he was like, it's really...
Dibs on that band name. Little shy boy snakes.
Yeah, apparently they won't bite unless you really step or dance on them.
Step or dance.
And even then, sometimes they'll bite you and they won't put venom in. So
there you go. You have a 50% chance or a certain percent chance.
as long as you leave a Death Adder alone, I think you're fine.
A Death Adler.
Death Adder.
Death Adder. At this point, I wrote down snakes, ... This is me saying to myself, I'm getting really tired of snakes.
You
But
dislike
y'all-
the information side and you love the action
I
side of these
know.
episodes.
I am an action whore. I want more going on.
Yeah, this is far from Steve and Suey hunting down a wild pig and
Yeah.
shooting it and killing it in a cornstalk field.
Yes, I agree. So hang in there because there's more snakes. Then we move on to the tiger snake. Guess what? Very venomous, and tiger snakes like to hide under stuff. So don't leave logs and pieces of wood and old tires in your yard if you live in Australia because they will live under there.
Yeah.
The king.
I don't think you should leave a tire in your yard when you live anywhere. Keep the tires on the vehicles, and then when you're done with them, go recycle them.
Look, I agree, but I also feel like I've seen thousands of houses with tires in the front yard. It's just like a thing that humans do. They just go like, ugh, I don't know. Because what do you do with a tire you're not going to do anything with anymore?
Fill it up with dirt, turn it into a flower bed.
That's a tire in your yard.
Yeah, but it's a repurposed tire.
But that's
don't leave a loose tire.
That's the same thing being used in a different manner.
I've changed my mind. I've done a 180.
You do think you should use tires.
I'm actually going to get a tire after this, throw it out in the front.
You guys should see our yard. It's just tires.
Make it a bird bath.
So we get the, did I talk about the king brown? No. So now we get to the king brown snake, and it says, oh, this one is really going at Steve. It's like keeps trying to get him, and Steve's dancing around it.
He purposely got this one out of a bunch of
stuff,
pieces of wood.
And this one is venomous, very much so. It can kill you. There's a high probability that you'll die if this one gets you. So of course Steve is fucking with it, and it is coming after him, and he's like, and then at one point he puts it in the bag, and there's a 3 second shot where he looks kind of exhausted.
It kept biting his feet or getting after his boots.
Yeah.
To which you went, sick boots.
They were. Oh my god, those old school hiking boots.
Yeah.
I've always wanted a pair.
Oh yeah, you can get some.
They remind me of my
Nike
parents.
made a pair last year that were.
I know, those were great.
Those were great.
Okay.
But yeah, it was wild. It's the deadliest snake in Australia.
He loves it.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's why he looks. I mean, it must have been stressful as hell because he's talking while it's trying to bite him.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So then we get this little, what I didn't know coming into this episode is there were going to be reenactments. And what I also didn't know coming into this episode is every reenactment is going to include a small child. So I'm not sure why they didn't do human reenactments. Apparently this episode was for children, about children. So actually, now that I'm saying that, it makes sense. It's a children's show, right?
Yeah, but also maybe trying to get parents to be like, oh, I have to pay attention because this could affect my kid.
So there's a kid running through the yard, and it says children don't know about snakes. Make sure you teach them. And then this girl runs up to the snake and picks it up.
Yeah,
which I feel sort of ruins the whole thing that they're saying, which is don't let your children pick up snakes, but they're showing a child picking up a snake because children like to do what they see, not what they're told, and so I feel they might have lost some of the point there.
And this is 50 years before CGI, so it's definitely real.
Super real, and she is she's flailing that thing around, and
Yeah.
she's like 4 or 5. I don't know. I'm not a child expert.
I bet you she's 5.
Okay, cool. So in a very surprising twist, we're now going to a hospital to talk to a doctor about how to treat snake bites. So get ready, because it's about to turn down a couple more notches. This man talks on a very low level and has about as much energy as an unfucked with snake. He's
not about to bite.
He's not about to bite.
Also, I think part of them not figuring out the way that the angle of the show yet, they haven't figured out sound for people coming in.
Yeah.
Because I think Steve's loud. Terry can get pretty loud. They're
And
getting
the people
audio
they
from this
interview
guy. And
are very low, yeah. Or at least people are nervous. Who knows?
Yeah.
So he basically says, if you're bitten by a snake, treat it very seriously, no matter what snake it is. Apply proper first aid, and then have the bitten person lay down, and then you're going to do what's called a compression bandage, which is to wrap the limb very tightly from top to bottom, and then secure it to a splint to keep it.
You start at the snake bite.
Start
so
at
the
the
venom
snake bite.
doesn't move.
And then you attach it to a splint, and then it's basically about not moving that person unless you have to, and if you have to, carrying them. And he then performs this on Terry.
Yes, we didn't even see this coming.
No. And it's not that bad, but it's not... It's weird today. The amount of touching he's doing of her, and
it didn't get weird for me until he was like, and you should write down the person's name and the time they got bit, and he puts the piece of paper on her crotch
and starts writing her
it.
name.
I was like, that's a weird place to put it.
But then I figured, like, this is kind of a new show. It's kind of a low-key show. He might have just been nervous, and they did this in one shot, and he had no idea. And Terry seemed fine.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they were probably like, do it as fast as you can.
Yeah.
Because this is going in the middle of a show.
What I thought was
like,
even...
I gotta put it on the crotch. I gotta write on the crotch.
What I think... You kept going, ooh. What I think is even wilder is he turns to Steve and he goes, Steve, do you have a shirt I can use? And Steve goes, yeah, and takes off a shirt. And then he rips it in half. And I was like, was that planned?
Could you just whip your shirt off, please, Steve? And we'll simply apply the pressure bandage just the way we're...
Did he ruin Steve's shirt, or was this planned?
I was 100% planned.
It was planned.
Because
I know, but at first I couldn't tell.
But he's always wearing a khaki top, and he like had a shirt over top of it.
I know, but I just didn't. It happened so fast.
Yeah.
I was like, did he just ruin an actual shirt?
Pre-planned.
He didn't. So he rips it. He wraps up Terry a second time so he can see what it looks like on her leg. At one point, Steve is pulling the laces out of his shoe to wrap it around Terry's leg, and the doctor goes like, "Nah, I don't need that," and moves on without
His beautiful
it.
Boots.
Yes, and then we put Terry on Steve's back, and they show us what it would look like if you carried somebody away who got bitten.
It's important not to walk or move the limb because the blood circulation will push that venom through your body, which you don't want.
I actually didn't know you could compression bandage for venom bite. It's crazy. You would think you would tourniquet, but he was saying you don't tourniquet, you do a compression. So instead of keeping the venom down, you basically are just like keeping it contained to that limb.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's crazy.
Alrighty, so in case you didn't like snakes, at least you get now spiders. Super fun. So we start with Terry talking about spiders and spider bite, and then another weird thing happens where all of a sudden we get a little snippet of the local news.
Oh God, this is the foot.
And would you like to explain the foot?
They show a short snippet of a woman, or snap it, if you will.
Thank you.
And she shows her foot, and it looks like a zombie's foot. I don't know. It's like got pus. It's huge. It's like scaly at the same time.
Her foot looks like if she tried to churn it with butter, but also it was very swollen. And basically the news is saying like, so-and-so got bit by this spider. And then they show her foot, and it is the funkiest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, it is.
It reminded me of cheese. I don't know why. It was gross.
Ugh.
Sorry, too much?
And then they show an old woman who has been having headaches. This one was a little weirder. This old woman is having headaches because she walked through a spider web.
Which means she might have been bitten, Or the spider web made her sick.
Yeah, which is wild.
That made me terrified because I constantly am like pulling spider webs out of my mouth.
How often?
Constantly.
When?
Right now.
We've been together 5 years. I've never seen.
No, but you know when you
run
walk
into
through a
web.
spider web and you go like, oh God, you don't want to be like, no, I'm gonna get migraines daily and my feet are gonna turn into cheese.
I once did a hike in Montana by myself, a long one, and there were these little like worms, almost like that come down from trees on their webs. And since nobody had been on the trail in a long time, I was like breaking the ground, and I walked through like 1,000, and it was nasty, and I'll never forget it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm just kidding. I don't. Yeah. You're okay? No side effects?
I survived.
I didn't have
I've had a
anything to
headache
say.
the entire time.
You've had a headache.
God forbid a boy talk about himself.
I know. No, I love when you talk about it. Where are you going?
I'm opening this for lighting.
Wow. Okay. They also say if you get bit by a spider, you can put an ice pack on it. That is helpful.
Yeah.
Then we go over to more spiders. Mm-hmm. First one is called a St. Andrew's cross. It is harmless. Feel free to jump in. I'm going to kind of rip through these because I don't care.
These bad boys.
Not that I don't care. I'm not as interested in. I'm more into the big stuff.
I do have about 5 minutes of content on the brown widow when you get there, though.
Okay, great. Next is the brown widow. They like to build their nests overnight, or they can build a whole nest overnight.
Mm-hmm. What's up with the name widow? Because we have black widows where I grew up in South Carolina, and I think it's because they'll turn you into a widow because they kill your husband.
Yes.
Crazy name for an animal.
Yeah, but also accurate. Makes sense.
Yeah, but what if like the great white shark was like the great white
widow?
A widow, yeah,
Be
that would
sick.
That would be wild. I don't know why we're naming.
Also, why is it always a widow? Why is it always a? Oh, I was thinking that a widow was gender specific. Widow was gender specific, but it's not.
No.
A man who loses his wife is still a widow.
No, he's a wando. No, I don't know. I think
That's fucking horrible.
He's a middow.
He's a middow.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a separate term for a man who loses his wife, though.
What's also funny in this episode is they, like, sometimes after some of the animals show a graphic and go, like, this animal lives in this part of Australia.
Yeah.
But not for all of them.
Yeah. Which was
so
weird.
The inconsistency is strange.
And one time they showed it and there was no orange and they didn't say anything. I don't think you were paying attention, but I was like, I mean, they're trying stuff out.
Me not paying attention during this episode?
Yeah.
No, not true.
Meanwhile, I was into it. I would watch. If all the Crocodile Hunters were like this, I would be like, I'm into it.
I would cancel our pod.
I once watched a documentary on YouTube about dams.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was interesting. I've watched a little bit of that.
Yeah, dams are sick.
Okay.
What if we turn the whole podcast into dams?
Hey, let us know. Do you want us to switch over to dams? Because we're down. As long as we get to like do something creative and talk. Nobody even listens to this, though.
You all right there, champ?
I just went full existential crisis. Okay, moving on. Then we get a wolf spider, and we get this like little gardening simulation where, this was the first non-child actor. An actor comes out and pretends like she's gardening, and by pretends I mean she just like touches a lot of leaves lightly and walks through her garden.
Yeah,
she doesn't do anything more than that.
What about they actually had a spider in her gloves?
Yeah,
we're gonna talk about
that. They put it on whoever's actor's hands.
These reenactments are they're not even like reenacting; they're like doing it live, which is crazy.
But I'm pretty sure those are Steve's hands.
Oh.
I think they swap her out for
Classic.
Steve.
Yeah.
And then we get the redback spider, which has which is the most common spider that people get bit by. Then we have the mouse spider, which is this disgusting spider with these massive fangs, and they just keep aggravating it, and the fangs can like hang over an entire stick. I don't like that it's called a mouse spider either, because mice are gross.
Honestly, another bad name, I would rather call it like the dump truck spider, because it's got a dump truck in the back.
Dude,
that thing had a donk.
That spider should be called Twerk.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't good.
That was a bad one.
What about that spider should be called Booty Booty?
Okay, that's better.
Okay.
I was gonna say the
Thanks for hating on my first try, though.
That's okay. You said it wasn't good enough.
It wasn't. It wasn't.
Yeah.
That spider should be called Ass City Central.
Really, it should just be called the ass spider.
The ass spider is great.
Yeah.
Then we meet Lynn, who is, a spider lady. Props to Lynn, though, because she's wearing spider earrings.
Yeah, which is sick. If you're going to go in, go all in. Yeah.
And she's surrounded by spiders. I can't really understand what she's saying, if I'm being honest, but she says... You caught it all?
I caught snippets of it, including her milking like 100 to 200 spiders a week.
Her main job is she milks the venom out of these spiders, freezes it, and sends it to the hospital so they have the venom.
Yeah.
So they can do... they can create a bunch of Spider-Men and send them around the world, right?
Yeah, they're creating Spider-Man in Australia and shipping them off to other countries.
Ass, city spider, ass spider.
Hey, hats off to Lynn. You know, she's probably saved countless lives doing that.
Yeah, she talked for a while. That's all I caught. So then we get a little snippet of Steve talking about scorpions. One time we were in this very remote part of Mexico, and we got to go scorpion hunting. And when I say hunting, I mean searching. And we took our
You mean taking out crossbows and shooting
No.
6-foot ones through the head and
Yes,
carrying
exactly.
them back and making jerky out of the meat?
We took little UV lights, and we walked around at night with a big group of people and found scorpions because they glow at night under the UV lights, and that was very cool. But Steve said they're mostly non-aggressive unless you mess with them, and they'll give you a little thwap, aka tail to the.
Yeah, well, the really only time they'll do it is if you step on them, which if they're inside your boots, they're going to step on them. So It's a PSA: don't leave your boots on the ground.
Yeah, he tells you to shake out your shoes.
Yeah.
My mom one time put her foot in an old slipper, and there was just a dead mouse skeleton. It was so old. Everything had disintegrated or been eaten away except for the skeleton of the mouse, and I have never forgotten that story, and I hate it.
That's
I
rough.
hate talking about it. I hate thinking about it. I don't know why I brought it up.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Pretty rough.
In case you're not having a good time, yay! Next we talk about ticks, which I personally hate being from Idaho. I hate ticks.
Yeah.
As soon as this happened, they showed a pre-eating tick and then 2 fatty blood-filled ticks, and I started checking my scalp while we were sitting here. I started running my fingers through my hair because I hate this.
I've been crawling through the high grass lately. So.
No, and that's the thing, is you don't even have... I don't even know if they exist in California. I'm sure they do. I just... Ugh. Yuck.
The only times I would get them was in tall grass as a kid. Like, we used to crawl around and find ladybugs and put them in jars, and I would get ticks that way. My dogs would do the same.
Yeah. I really don't like what they look like when they're filled with blood.
They're pretty gross.
They're disgusting.
They kind of look like that ass from that spider.
They look like an ass spider. They also they put a tick on Steve's neck to film it crawling around, which just seems like we're playing with fire.
A long shot of this tick, just like also kind of looks like it's climbing up a mountain face, which is funny, all the way to behind his ear.
Yeah, I was just like, let's get an artificial neck in there. This is crazy.
Yeah, we artificial
and let's
neck
put
with a
necklace on it with a watch around.
Dude, they should make necklace watches that
They
are like
do.
fit
All
like
these
a
like
watch.
TikTok girls wear watches now as necklaces.
It's insanely
And it
cool.
looks awful.
Yeah, totally.
Buys me one. Cool. Then we move on to wasp and bees, and they say that more people die from bee stings than sharks, just because most people are allergic to bees.
Which is crazy if you think about it. Because they should create a movie that's like Jaws, but for a single bee.
That is so good.
Yeah.
A high stakes movie about one bee just going around killing people.
And it's like
Hilarious.
similar to like, it's like, oh, the big barbecue this weekend, we can't cancel it, and they're like, there's a crazy bee on the loose, and the mayor comes into town, he's like, everybody, we're raising money from this thing, we can't close it down, and then his kid almost gets stung by the bee, and
I love it. It's like the Bee Movie,
I know a
but
lot
with
about
Jason
the Jaws.
Statham.
Yeah.
Amazing. So then we get all these shots of sharks, and I get really, really excited, and I write down sharks, and then we don't talk about sharks. So then I wrote down nope.
Yeah, there's a little
Instead,
shark.
we talk about a stonefish, which is this really not ugly, but funky looking fish.
It looks like rock on the bottom of the seafloor.
Yeah, which they say can be fatal, but I didn't learn anything else outside of that.
They did this weird thing because I was paying attention and I loved it. Of like
was paying
you can
attention.
sometimes step on them, I guess, but the way to fix it is to put one leg in hot water and then the other leg in hot water. And they were explaining it really quietly. It didn't make any sense, but there's something with...
You put both legs in hot water, but in two different...
And then it goes away, the pain.
The first aid treatment here is very important indeed. One simply puts the limb into hot as water as the limb can bear. Test it on the other limb, the normal limb first. Make sure the body can stand the temperature, about 48 degrees Celsius. And then you put the other limb in it, and it's miraculous. Within 20 minutes or so, the pain is completely gone.
I don't know. That doesn't seem accurate.
Well, yeah, we could go back and watch it. Actually, I'll put the clip in.
Perfect. And then we get a blue-ringed octopus, which is this tiny, cute little octopus, which can also be fatal. I don't know how or why.
It looks
was
like
starting to really fall off the cliff at this point.
In this video, in this part of it, it looked like they were trying to provoke it with, and you guessed it, a watch.
There was a watch in the tank with it.
And like it was like getting kind of close, but it never did anything.
What was that? Were they showing it for size?
I don't quite understand.
I don't know, but there is a watch theme going on here. There's some sort of background watch theory going on. There's a conspiracy watch something in this episode.
Something with Casio for sure.
Assio. Then we move on to the box jellyfish. Again, we have a nice child swimming around, and this fake jellyfish attacks the child. Those are
reenactment, yeah.
Always, what did I say?
You didn't say reenactment.
Yeah, I did. I said we have another child reenactment.
No, I didn't hear that.
Wow, every episode.
I didn't mean to sweep in there.
It's all good. And
I just wanted it to make sense.
Yeah. Box jellyfish are always fatal. The most fatal
jellyfish?
animal on Earth?
I don't know.
Pretty close.
Not always fatal, but they can be, right?
They're the most fatal animal on Earth.
Wow. I didn't know
I think. Like I said, I really was not paying tons of attention at this point.
It was tough. Well, the only thing that stuck with me from this is they did the reenactment without much voiceover, and then the little girl and the boy are swimming, and they actually show box jellyfish under the water, and then she's running back to the beach and is like crying in pain and lays down, and then she actually has like jellyfish marks on her legs, which I don't know if they were able to fake that or not. But,
yeah.
But then her brother.
Okay, first of all, you're wonderful. That was not a real jellyfish. Those were just fake pieces of plastic that they made to look like a jellyfish.
Oh.
And on her legs, they probably just went like this with like a red pen or something. It was all fake.
World shattered. But they didn't explain this at all. They show her brother, or maybe boyfriend, I don't know, pouring, he had a 1 liter of white vinegar, and he started pouring
and they said nothing about it.
They didn't say anything about it, so I'm guessing pour white vinegar on it, yeah.
Well, ammonia, which is in our pee,
Yeah.
and also maybe in white vinegar, can help. I don't think you're supposed to pee on a box jellyfish burn, though, because it's fatal, you're dying. So just take that person to the hospital.
Okay.
Sound good?
Sure. Maybe I'll put rolling credits over here on whether it is the deadliest animal in the world or not.
Perfect. All of a sudden we get Steve is in the tank of an aquarium.
Yep.
And he's scuba floating. I wouldn't say he's diving.
Yeah.
Scuba floating, and he says, I'm going to cuddle this fish over here. And he's like holding an ugly ass fish and petting it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Not much is happening.
The weirdest part was there was a moment with a stingray where he was like, oh, a stingray, and like he was letting the stingray climb all over them, and
they were talking
explaining about when a stingray might attack you, which is crazy.
It's really hard to watch that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think anytime a stingray thing comes up, it's very, it's just not fun.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I feel you.
And then they talk about shark. Finally, we talk about sharks a little bit. There's another reenactment with this very cut little boy who's swimming.
Whoa.
He's shredded.
It's like a 10-year-old, 11-year-old boy you're
I
talking
know,
about.
but they like show him swimming really hard and are doing all these close-up shots of his abs, which is sort of strange.
Okay, put it back in your pants.
No, I'm saying they did this to me. This was not what I thought. And This boy's like swimming, and they take what looks like a fake shark and simulate a shark attack.
That was a fake shark?
Yes.
That makes more sense.
Oh my
now.
god.
It's like, how did they have the shark attack?
If this was all real and like they actually killed children for the show, that would be awful. But I know that they didn't.
No, there's probably like a 50% chance they didn't.
Yeah, this is not a Milo and Otis situation. They do say most shark attacks, a shark is actually mouthing you to see if it wants to eat you. So usually if you are bitten by a shark and then it swims away and you get out and can go fix your shark bite, it was because they are feeling around.
Yeah, they're trying to see what you
And they call them mouthings. And then they say if a shark knows it wants to eat you, it will kill you 100%.
Yeah, they'll just eat you.
Which is terrifying news.
I already don't like being in the ocean. It makes it a little tougher to know that.
Oh, I love the ocean.
Ugh.
And then in a very surprising twist, the episode just ends. There's no recap. There's no music change.
They don't even go back to Sydney.
No, there is.
I think they ran out of time, honestly.
Thank God, because I was over it. But it just ends out of nowhere. Roll credits.
The editors must have been like, we have to do this because like, you know, it's slotted to have commercials in between it. They must have just effed up the timing.
Yeah. Interesting episode. How would you rate it?
Honestly, we had so much fun talking about it. I'm giving it 6.5 Crikeys.
Nice. Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to think. What is...
You can choose the Crikey scale if you're trying to overthink creating your own scale right now.
No, I refuse to do what you tell me. In the episode, Steve said something about... I don't know. I can't remember. I give him 5 Crikeys on the Crikey scale because your girl wasn't interested in most of it.
Yeah.
Just not my up. But
Yeah.
still love Steve. Still love Terry.
Oh, yeah, and also...
Still support women. Ass.
If you look at these when they were like just starting out a little bit...
They're figuring it out.
Which is great because, you know, the quality is probably only going to get better and better.
You gotta fail to try.
Yeah.
You gotta try to fail. No, you gotta fail. I don't know.
I don't know either.
See you next time. Thank you for... I don't know. Why the fuck am I thanking you? You might not even listen. I might be talking to nobody. Thanks for tuning in. Like and subscribe.